Okay, guys, the next part we're going to work on is distance problems. And here we're going to find, um, we're going to talk about traveling at different rates. Okay, this is page 3 in your notes. These are probably, in most cases, problems that your parents like hate as we're going through here. So these are the word problems that can get a little difficult. They're actually, the math is not very hard. It's just the figuring out how to set them up that's the hard part. And then once you set them up, the math is pretty easy. It's actually easier than a lot of the stuff we've been doing. So stick with me here. Hopefully you can kind of understand, and we'll get through it. So on page 3, first they give you the formula for distance, right? Distance equals rate times time. Okay, and hopefully you've heard this one before. And basically, for this formula, if I told you something like, if you're traveling 60 miles an hour for 3 hours, then your total distance would be, hopefully you can realize, it's 180 miles, right? So 60 times 3, so that's, the rate was 60, the time is 3, distance is 180. Well, here you have, typically you'll have two different vehicles of some sort, okay, traveling. So in the example that they give you, it says one car travels 20 miles per hour faster than the other car. The faster car goes 240 miles. The slower car travels at 180 miles. Find their speeds. Okay? So now, here's what you need to know. Okay, so first, we're going to make a little chart. And this is going to be the easiest way to kind of start it off. And your chart is going to go like this. You're going to have distance, rate, time. Okay, and then you have the slow car and you have the fast car. Okay, now, so what do we know? We know that the faster car goes 240 miles. So that's the distance. So the distance of the faster car is 240 miles. Okay, the distance of the slower car is 180 miles. Okay, now we also know that one car travels 20 miles an hour faster than the other car. Okay, well, we don't know exactly how fast they drive, so what we do know is that the slow car is R, and then the fast car is its rate plus 20 miles an hour, right? Okay, and then finally, we don't know how long they drove for. Okay, but here's the deal. We know that both of them drove for the same amount of time. Okay, so what you know here and what your goal is to find something that you can have equal in both of them. Okay, and now in both of these cars, we know that they both drove for the same amount of time. So that's the equal part. Okay, and what you're going to want to do here is once you have something that's equal to each other, then basically if you can solve for that, then you can make them set equal to each other. Okay, so let me give you an example of what we're doing. So we have the slow car. If you look at the formula, you have 180 equals R times T, right? And then for the faster car, you have 240, okay, equals R plus 20 times T. And so what you want to do here is you want to try to solve both of them for T. Because if we can get T to be the same, okay, then we can set them equal to each other. And so how do we get T by itself? Well, we divide by R, right? So if we divide by R on both sides, you get 180 over R equals T. Okay, and then over here, we're going to divide by R plus 20, because those go away. Do the same thing over there. And so you're left with 240 over R plus 20 is equal to T. Okay? Now, let me move it up a little bit for you. Alright, so here's what we know now. We know that 180 over R is equal to T, and we know that 240 over R plus 20 is equal to T. And if both of those are equal to T, then they must be equal to each other. So we're going to write it like this. 180 over R is equal to 240 over R plus 20, because they're both equal to each other. Okay, so now they're set up like equations that we can solve. Okay, so how do we get rid of the denominators here? We just worked on this stuff in the last unit. We multiply by common denominator, right? Which in this case is r times r plus 20 on both sides, right? Okay, and on the left side, the r's cancel. So you have 180 times r plus 20 equals, and then over here your r plus 20's cancel, 240r. Okay, then you distribute 180r plus, on 180 times 20, that's going to be what, 3,600? I'm going to cheat and check my notes. Yeah, there you go, 3,600. Okay, equals 240r. Move this up a little bit. Okay, and then now we just solve. So we subtract 180r from both sides. You get 3,600 equals 60r. Divide by 60. Okay, zeros cancel, and you have 60 equals r. So the rate that the car is driving at, the slower car, is 60. So then the faster car, r plus 20, is going to be 80 miles an hour. There you go. So there's your rates that both of the cars are going. Okay, so the trick to these is making that chart. If you can make the chart and fill them all in, you can set them equal to each other, and it makes it nice and easy. All right, there's a try this there. Give it a shot. It might be a little early for it, but give it a shot if you can. It already has the chart kind of partially filled in for you, so go ahead and try to fill in the rest and see if you can work it out. Okay, the next one, to try this, it says one car travels 40 miles per hour faster than the other. Okay, so if you look at our chart here, the slow car, we have its rate as r, so the rate of the faster car is going to be r plus 40, right? Because it's 40 miles an hour faster. Okay, and it says while one travels 150 miles, the other travels 350 miles. So obviously the slower car has to go 150 miles, right? All right, and now our chart is filled in. And what do we have that's alike? Okay, we have the t's are alike, right? We don't know the time. So we're going to go ahead and solve for those. So we have 150 equals r times t, and 350 equals r plus 40 times t. So let's solve for t. Okay, we solve for t by dividing by r plus 40 on the right side. So t equals 350 over r plus 40. And over here, just divide by r. So t equals 150 over r. Okay, and now we have t's on both sides, so we're just going to go ahead and now set the part we know is equal to t equal to each other. So 350 over r plus 40. Okay, and there's our new equation. Alright, so we multiply both sides by the common denominator. R times r plus 40. R times r plus 40. Okay, here the r's cancel. So we have 150r plus, and that works out to be 6,000, equals, and we cross out the r plus 40s, 350r. Subtract 150r. Let me move this up. Okay, and we have 6,000 equals 200r. Divide by 200. Cross out our zeros. We get 30 equals r. So our rate is 30 miles an hour for the slower car. So the faster car is going to be 40 miles an hour faster, which will give us 70. Okay, and there you go. So that's it. that's the basics to figure these out, guys. They're not super difficult if you can fill in that chart, and then just solve for the variable that you know is the same. And plug everything in and work it out. It's not difficult math. It's stuff you know how to do. You just got to take your time and not get worried about, oh, I'm working on a word problem and it's scary. It's not scary. Just take your time. Try and figure out piece by piece, right? All right, so that's that. Give those a shot.